Global Village with Dil Wickremasinghe.
Welcome back. You're listening to Newstalk 106 108. Do get in touch with the show by texting us here on 53106 at a cost of 30 cents. Earlier this week, pro-choice activists here in Ireland stood in solidarity with women in Poland who went on strike in protest against proposed new abortion laws. While here the campaign is to repeal the 8th Amendment, in Poland the fight is against the introduction of an outright ban on abortion. A fortnight ago, Jane Donnelly, Human Rights Officer of Atheist Ireland, spoke at an abortion rally in Warsaw and emphasised the potential synergies between campaigns in Ireland and Poland. And she joins me now in studio to discuss this further. Welcome to Global Village.
Thank you very much. I'm delighted to be here.
Now, Jane, firstly, let's start with what does Atheist Ireland do and how did you become involved?
Atheist Ireland was started in 2008. I became involved about a couple of years after that when I was asked to get involved in the campaign over the Irish education system. So I got involved there and we have a huge campaign to change the laws and the constitution that discriminate against atheists and minorities in the education system. So I'm the Human Rights Officer there in Atheist Ireland, but we get involved in other areas like the abortion laws and any laws that discriminate against minorities and atheists and seculars.
And the mission of Atheist Ireland is?
Our mission is to promote atheism, first of all, and we're looking for secular laws. We want the state to be neutral between religions and atheism, and we're promoting human rights.
So, Jane, take us back to April this year, when a letter was read out in mass in Poland about abortion. How did all this come about? Because we are so focused about what is happening in Ireland, but who knew that we are actually not the only ones when it comes to strict laws in this area?
Well, the Catholic Church read out a letter at Mass last April asking Catholics to support a citizens' bill that was presented to Parliament over there. And they have a different system over there. The bill was presented by an institute over there. You could say, I'll try my bit of my Polish, which is Ordo Juris.
Very good.
Institute.
Sounds good to me.
Polish sounds good. So forgive the pronunciation. And they're a very conservative group. They want to ban abortion completely. They also want to ban civil partnership, and they're against sex education in schools. So they have links to different organisations around the world as well. So they put a citizens' bill, and what happens in Poland is that they get a lot of signatures together and they can put that forward. Now, the Law and Justice Party, which is a very conservative party, they're in power at the moment, and they accepted the bill. And they put it forward. But in April as well, another group of citizens got together and they got more signatures, and they introduced another bill, and it's called Let's Save Women. And that was, they put that forward as well. And that was to make available to citizens reproductive rights for all. So that went to the Polish Parliament as well. And in September this year, they rejected that bill. But it was discovered that the day before, they had put the bill from this conservative think tank over there forward through the Parliament. So that was the start of the black protest. Our Polish feminists and Polish women and men were furious with this. And so they started protesting on the streets. And that's how this all started.
So let's talk about the conditions that this bill hopes to introduce, because they're pretty extreme, Jane. I mean,
yes.
Termination only if the mother's life is at risk, and increase the maximum jail term for practitioners from 2 years to 5 years.
Yes.
And women who have terminations would also be liable for prison terms, though judges could waive punishment in their case. It would actually make it stricter than what we currently have here in Ireland.
It is, and it would make it. You have to remember that in the 50s, they had an abortion law in Poland. They introduced an abortion law in Poland on social issues, that you could get an abortion. Now that changed in the early 90s to the one where that you could only get an abortion with fetal abnormality if you were raped or your health or your life was in danger. So it's not as restrictive as the Irish abortion law at the moment, but they're trying to change that now with this new bill and to bring it in so that abortion will be completely banned, and that they would only have an abortion if the woman's life was in danger. But even the bill that is there in place in law, it is very difficult to get an abortion in Poland, and a lot of women go abroad. A lot of the doctors don't do abortions, or they won't do it even if your life is in danger, because they have a conscientious objection. And this is where that's going. So there's major issues over that. So the new bill that called Let's Save Women, one of the proposals in that was that there would be a register of doctors that won't do abortions because of conscientious objections, so that patients and all people, women, they could see who refuses to do abortion
and not waste any time.
And not waste any time. Because what was happening, especially for women that had a fetal abnormality, you couldn't get an abortion after 21 weeks. So they were delaying things and sending them for tests, and so that they couldn't get an abortion. And there was a few incidences where women had a fetal abnormality and they wanted an abortion and they couldn't get it, even though the law said that they could. So this is why they want to change the law to make things more liberal and more human and based on human rights.
I think it's just so interesting because, like, one of the biggest ethnic groups living in Ireland today are Polish.
Yes.
And one argument, people always make, why have the Polish integrated so well in this country?
Yes.
Because, it's very rare to find an Irish president that has a negative thing to say about Polish people.
Yes.
Of course, because they're white and they're Catholic. They're very similar.
They're not all Catholic.
Yeah. But the reality is there is this huge similarities between Ireland and Poland because of the Catholic influence.
Yeah. Well, a few years ago, it's not only that connection. A few years ago, we had a conference in Dublin and we had the Polish atheists over. So there is an organisation in Poland of Polish atheists. And we had Nina Sankari from the Polish atheists speak at our conference in Dublin. And when I went over 2 weeks ago, we met Nina Sankari, and we have great rapport with her, and we work together, and we continue to work together on these important issues. So it's not just Catholicism. There are Polish atheists, and I have connection with Polish atheists, and I went over 2 weeks ago and met them.
Yeah, well, that's exactly my question, because the next question was because you are part of the umbrella group, the coalition, to repeal the Eighth Amendment.
Yes.
So the connection with you going and speaking at an abortion rally in Warsaw was the fact that you're connected with the atheist community there.
We're connected with the atheists and in different countries as well. But Atheist Ireland, we go, we make submissions to the UN and the Council of Europe. And 2 weeks ago, we were also at the UN, and we spoke at the UN under the Universal Periodic Review in Geneva, and with the other organisations that belong to the Coalition to Repeal the Eighth. And we went from there to Warsaw to the OSCE. The OSCE, Organisation for Security and Cooperation in Europe, have the biggest human rights conference in Europe once a year. And we went there. And again, we spoke about repealing the Eighth. And we also spoke about the Black protest in Warsaw. And you speak there in front of the delegations from Poland, from Ireland, and there was also a delegation there from the Holy See. So it was very relevant at the time to be able to speak to these people and tell them that they're breaching the human rights of women, Polish women and Irish women, and that we wanted to stop. So through that, we were in contact with our colleagues at the Polish Atheists, and they arranged for me on the Sunday morning to go to a rally and to speak and show solidarity with the women and men in the Black protest, which I did.
And while you were there, let's talk about the women, because I'm sure you've met a lot of women and heard their stories.
Yes.
And what are the similarities between the women, the Polish women and the Irish women in relation to this issue?
Well, the similarities are exactly the same. I spoke about fetal abnormality, and they're extremely concerned about children that are abused, young girls that are abused, and in situations of incest and rape. And they can't get abortions, even with the law allowing it at the moment. So they're going abroad. So there is this campaign, this international campaign, to repeal all the abortion laws and to deny women their reproductive rights. And we are campaigning against that. And we're hoping there'll be a good bit of solidarity between the two countries and the women in the two countries, and we can work together to make sure that all women have reproductive rights.
Now, earlier this week, Poland has backed down on the bill, isn't that right?
That's right. I got some news this morning that there was an opinion poll on Monday, and the ruling Law and Justice Party has dropped in the opinion poll by 29%. And the Prime Minister over there has said that they're not going to do anything with this law that has gone forward. So the Polish women were furious with what was going on. They were on the streets campaigning, and as you know, they went on strike as well. The Polish Prime Minister did say, let them have fun while we get on with the important things in Poland. He actually said that.
Patronising at all now, no. Jane, is it? God, that makes me want to get on a plane to Poland now.
He was taken down a peg or two by the Prime Minister, apparently, because when those figures, political figures, came out, it will affect their political standing and they will lose support.
Very good. So if people want to get involved with Atheist Ireland and indeed the whole campaign here and perhaps even the campaign in Poland, how can people get involved?
Well, on social media, you can have a look. There is a coalition to repeal the 8th abortion rights campaign. Atheist Ireland has a website, Twitter, Facebook. We also run Secular Sunday, and we have a lunch.
That? What's Secular Sunday?
Secular Sunday is kind of an online magazine that informs people about what we do. It, for example, we would have articles in it about the UN, what happened, and our speeches at the UN, and all various articles and news thing about Atheist Ireland and secularism in general in Ireland and abroad.
And I have to ask, because the Equality Act in Ireland, protects people from discrimination over the 9 grounds, and one of them, of course, is religion. And of course, religion or no religion, you can't be treated less favourably based on that. And in Ireland now, for someone like yourself who says at a dinner party, if it comes up, in conversation, and you say, "No, I'm an atheist."
Yes.
What kind of response do you get now, as opposed to maybe a few years ago?
I get the same response. Some people look at me with total surprise. I've always, especially when I go abroad and go to places like the OSCE.
What? You're Irish and you're not Catholic?
That is exactly.
I don't believe you. Really? Okay.
I had somebody come up and shake my hand once and said, "Oh, I'm delighted, absolutely delighted to meet an Irish atheist. I never knew there was such a thing." And this was at an international human rights conference abroad. So, we do get sometimes a bit of a reaction. But I use the term atheist all the time because I am an atheist, and I'm not going to say I'm just non-religious. I am an Irish atheist. I'm a woman and I'm a feminist, and I'm fighting for my human rights.
Well, Jane Donnelly, thank you very much for joining us here on Global Village. Jane Donnelly, Human Rights Officer of Atheist Ireland, joining us here on Global Village. Thank you.
Global Village with Dil Wickremasinghe.